Imagine having a mind that never stops. Sounds familiar? You wake up already thinking, not about breakfast, but about life, about people, about patterns you noticed 3 years ago, about a sentence someone said yesterday that still hasn't left your head. You analyze it, replay it, break it down into its emotional parts. While others move through life with a kind of smooth simplicity, you feel like you're walking through fog, fire, and mirrors all at once. And no one sees it. You're praised for being smart, but that praise feels hollow when your thoughts are heavy. When your intelligence makes you isolate, overthink, question everything. When your mind becomes so active that it stops being a tool and starts becoming a trap. Because here's the truth nobody tells you. Intelligence doesn't just make life easier. Sometimes it makes life harder, much harder. Not because you're broken, but because your mind sees too much, feels too deeply, and can't turn off the search for meaning, even when it hurts. Jung knew this, so did Schopenhauer. They both understood that a powerful intellect comes with a price, a kind of inner suffering that shallow minds never have to carry. And in this video, we're going to unpack that price. We'll explore why smart people often feel overwhelmed, emotionally exhausted, and spiritually detached. Not because something's wrong with them, but because they were never meant to live on the surface. Stay with me till the end, because if your intelligence has ever made you feel lonely, lost, or misunderstood, you're about to see why. Maybe you felt it too. That strange sense of being overwhelmed by things others barely notice. The way your mind races when the room is silent. The exhaustion that comes not from doing too much, but from thinking too much, feeling too much, caring too much about everything that seems to slip past others. You try to explain it, but people don't get it. They say you're too sensitive, too serious, that you overthink everything. Like that's a flaw. But what if it's not overthinking at all? What if it's just thinking deeper? The truth is, intelligent people often suffer because their minds weren't designed for shallow waters. While others float comfortably on the surface, you're scanning the ocean floor, catching emotional shifts, hidden motives, contradictions. You sense things others miss, and you question things they've long accepted. It's not just mental, it's emotional, spiritual, existential. The smarter you are, the more you see. And the more you see, the harder it becomes to pretend. Pretend to laugh when something feels hollow. Pretend to care about things that don't matter. Pretend to be fine when your mind is screaming for stillness, for truth, for peace. So you pull away. You spend more time alone. You crave quiet like oxygen. And part of you wonders, is something wrong with me? But maybe solitude isn't your escape. Maybe it's your signal. A signal that your mind is working on a different frequency. Not better, not worse, just deeper, more alive, more attuned to meaning than noise. And that sensitivity, that depth, it's not weakness. It's the exact thing that makes you who you are. And it's the reason your path will never look like everyone else's. Carl Jung believed that the more conscious a person becomes, the more they awaken the unconscious. Intelligence, then, isn't just about solving problems or accumulating knowledge. It's a portal, one that opens not just toward clarity, but toward confrontation. Because a truly intelligent mind doesn't merely analyze the outside world. It interrogates itself. It tears through illusions, shatters surface-level narratives, and digs until it finds something raw and real, even if that something is painful, especially when it's painful. You begin to see patterns in places others overlook, not just in politics or relationships, but in words, gestures, emotional micro-expressions. You notice the subtle tension in someone's voice, the forced smile, the contradiction between what they say and what they mean. And the more your awareness expands, the more you realize how much of life is performance. How much of human interaction is made of masks and mutual concealment. How rare it is for people to speak from the core of their being, and how often they avoid it, because they're afraid of what they might find. But intelligence doesn't give you that option. It doesn't let you stay blind. The sharper your awareness becomes, the more you begin to see beneath the surface of everything, including yourself. And that's where the suffering begins. Because what you see inside isn't always beautiful. Jung called this the shadow, the part of you that holds the impulses you've rejected, the desires you've disowned, the traits you've labeled not me. And when your intelligence turns inward, as it inevitably does, it amplifies those shadows. It picks apart your reactions. It questions your motives. It reveals how even your kindness can sometimes be control, how even your logic can sometimes be fear, how the lines between good and bad, right and wrong, self and other, aren't as solid as you thought. This isn't overthinking. It's over-perceiving, a kind of hyper-consciousness that never turns off. You're not just living, you're constantly decoding. You feel the gaps between words. You sense the contradiction between presence and intention. And because you're not filtering reality like others do, even normal situations can feel strangely dissonant. But that's not confusion, it's consciousness. According to Jung, this is not a disorder. It's the beginning of individuation. The process of becoming whole by integrating the parts of yourself you were taught to hide. But individuation is lonely. It separates you from those who've never had to ask the same questions. It leaves you watching the world from a distance, trying to connect without betraying what you now know. And once your eyes are open, you can't go back to sleep. Arthur Schopenhauer saw suffering not as an anomaly, but as the default state of existence. For him, the more intelligent a person is, the more acutely they feel the weight of that truth. Not because intelligence creates suffering, but because it removes the illusions that protect us from it. Most people live behind veils of distraction, of convention, of comfort. They chase pleasure, seek approval, lose themselves in routine. And for many, that's enough. But for the intelligent mind, the one that sees through appearances, that veil begins to thin. And behind it, they find something raw, restless, and unsettling. A world driven not by reason or harmony, but by blind will, chaos, and contradiction. To see clearly, Schopenhauer believed, is to suffer deeply. Because clarity isn't soothing, it's searing. It exposes the emptiness behind so many of our pursuits. It reveals how much of human behavior is rooted in unconscious desire, imitation, fear. And once you start noticing this, not abstractly, but viscerally, you begin to feel like a stranger in your own culture. Conversations feel scripted. Social norms feel absurd. The rituals of daily life, small talk, competition, chasing status, begin to feel like theater. And not even good theater, but a repetitive, exhausting performance no one dares to stop. But the tragedy, Schopenhauer argued, isn't just that the world is shallow. It's that the intelligent person still needs to live in it, still needs to show up, pay bills, interact, belong. And so they live in tension, caught between the desire to retreat into solitude and the reality of being human. The more profound their insight, the more alienated they become. Because truth in this world is rarely rewarded. It's diluted, rejected, or ignored. And the intelligent person knows this, feels it, every time they silence themselves in a room where no one wants to hear what they really think. This is why Schopenhauer saw solitude not as an escape, but as a necessity. It's the only place where the intelligent person can exist without compromise. In solitude, the mask can fall, the mind can breathe. The truth, however painful, can be held without distortion. He wrote, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, not because others are evil, but because the crowd demands conformity. It smooths out complexity, mocks depth, fears discomfort. And for the thinking person, that pressure becomes unbearable. And yet, this very suffering, Schopenhauer believed, could lead to something higher. A life not of comfort, but of authenticity. Not of pleasure, but of insight. It is the burden of the philosopher, the seeker, the one who can't look away. So if you've ever felt like you were born into a world that doesn't make sense, you're not broken, you're awake. You've probably felt it for years, maybe your whole life. That strange, persistent sense that something about you doesn't quite align with the world around you. Like you're always slightly out of sync, watching everything unfold from just a few inches outside the frame. You try to join in. You smile, you nod, you play the part. But deep down, there's a dissonance. Not because you think you're better, but because something in you sees more than what's on the surface. And the more you see, the harder it becomes to pretend you don't. Most people move through life chasing simplicity. They find comfort in repetition, in belonging, in doing what's expected. But you've always carried questions too heavy for casual conversation. You've sensed the hidden motives behind the small talk. The subtle power plays beneath the smiles. And you've felt the loneliness that comes with that insight. Because once you notice how shallow most things are, you can't unsee it. You start pulling away, not out of arrogance, but out of self-preservation. You retreat to solitude, not because you hate people, but because that's the only place your thoughts feel safe. And yet, even in solitude, the doubt creeps in. You wonder if you're defective, if you're missing something essential that everyone else was given. You look around and see people thriving in systems that feel alien to you, socially, emotionally, even spiritually. And the voice inside you whispers, "Why can't I just be normal?" But what if that voice is wrong? What if your struggle to fit in was never a flaw, but a sign? A sign that your mind, your soul, your very way of being, was never meant to conform to the crowd. Jung called this individuation, The process of becoming yourself fully, even if it means walking alone. Schopenhauer called it liberation, freedom from illusion, even if that freedom comes with pain. They both understood that the path to authenticity is not paved with comfort. It's carved out by the friction of not belonging. So if you felt out of place, if you've carried guilt for needing space, for turning down invitations, for preferring your own thoughts over other people's approval, understand this. You are not weak. You're not damaged. Just unmuted. You are simply someone who refuses to dilute your soul to make others comfortable. The world is not built for minds like yours. But that doesn't mean you're the one who needs fixing. It means the world is missing what you see. And maybe, just maybe, your distance from the noise isn't a curse. Maybe it's the exact thing that allows you to hear the signal underneath. To think what others won't. To feel what others bury. To speak truths that others are still too afraid to name. So stop apologizing for your depth. Stop folding yourself to fit spaces that were never built to hold you. Because in a culture obsessed with attention, the rarest kind of power is presence with yourself. And in that presence, you don't just survive, you become free. If this resonated with you, like, share, and subscribe to The Existential Edge for more videos like this.